Good day, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to my Sasquatch Sunday video. My name is Todd Standing. I am the man who takes people out into the field and has them either live interact with or eyewitness Sasquatch. We've got three videos we're going to go through today. Three very interesting videos. We talk about when Sasquatch get on all fours. That's in one of the videos today. General movement of Sasquatch. And then I have a little secret that I'm going to reveal. I've spoken about this before. When you film in the Pacific Northwest, I have a little secret for you that's going to pretty much immediately prove whether you're hoaxing or not in the proportions. So we're going to go through all that and more today. It's going to be a great show. Stay tuned. Let's have some fun. So in the last couple of weeks on one of my live shows, I had some people ask quite a few questions about what happens when Sasquatch move on all fours. And I don't have a tremendous amount of experience about it, but we're going to talk about the limited amount of experience I have with it with this video from today. So let's have a look at this video from today. So first thing we can notice here is when he's repositioning his back end, you can see his back end go up. So now this guy, if this is legitimately a Sasquatch, as it moves in towards him, we get a pretty decent look at the face and the oddities of the face. And then if that was a real video, he obviously would move away at that time. But let's watch it again in a little bit slower here. So again, in the beginning, what I wanted to emphasize was the way the arms are not long enough. So when he's repositioning in his back end, you can actually see it. It actually brought me to think about the encounter that I had where a Sasquatch was moving towards me on all fours, but I had trouble noticing it because he was so big. I could see that his arms looked like they were on the ground, but it's just not what you're really thinking about. And what I noticed proportionately about Sasquatch, I think this is kind of known, especially from the Patterson footage, is that the arms are proportionately longer. And also the head, and with the size of the head and the top of the head of the Sasquatch being as big as it is, I'll show you that in a comparative video with my face compared to Jake today. But it doesn't really, you wouldn't see the back end like you see here. So that's why these proportions are very, very human. So if a Sasquatch was moving if he was looking at you when he was moving his legs from the back side, you wouldn't be able to see them up above his head. There's no chance of that. And then I think just the rest of this video kind of speaks for itself. As it gets closer, it just doesn't look very realistic. And although I have to say, a lot of times you tell people, well, why did you stop filming? Well, if this was a Sasquatch, or even if this was a practical joke and somebody's buddy was like, had a Sasquatch-ish looking suit on and started to move towards him, you really would pan off as it got to be that close. In fact, this is like a little, what I would say here is it's a little overly brave. This guy hangs on way too long. I think most people would have gotten out there, especially not knowing what that is. But the other things about this footage, too, that we can talk about real quick is as it starts to come and move forward, the face starts looking like there's long brows and there's white on it. So that's not something I've ever seen. When the colors that I've ever seen, which are either brown, black, I never have seen red, or the grayish color. When there is that grayish look in a Sasquatch, it's salt and peppery, and it's usually because it's older. And I actually have seen that in a piece of footage. There's that old, the back of a Sasquatch video and photograph. I've seen that color in a Sasquatch. That's kind of the grayish color I've seen. I've never seen a white Sasquatch, but I've seen that sort of a grayish look, which is very significant. So obviously I'm not too much of a proponent to think that has really much potential for being legitimate or real. However, I love this piece of footage. This is allegedly was filmed in Russia. The original audio, I hear Russian voices on it. But I wanted to have a look at this. So, because with this new look at it, we're seeing the exposure's been cranked up near the back end of it, and it's starting to look very, very interesting to me. I've seen some new characteristics in it. So it's quite off in the distance, it's very blurry, but I'm seeing this bounding movement, especially that arms in the air. The arms look long proportionately to the body. So here it is, a little more cranked up in the exposure. The only reason a Sasquatch would move like that, in that kind of a bumping kind of motion, is if he was being territorial and showing off, like orangutans, gorillas, and chimpanzees do this. I don't think that's an orangutan, a gorilla, or a chimpanzee. It's not likely. But that arm spread that I see when it jumps up is very impressive to me, and that becomes a little more obvious when we crank up the exposure on it. So if this is a Sasquatch, what's most likely to be transpiring is it's aware of that human being. So if he's aware of that human being, he's going to act territorial. So he's going to be bounding, making booming sounds, and primates, gorillas, chimpanzees, and orangutans like to push their arms out when they're being territorial, and I'm seeing all that here. So the only thing that seems a little odd to me is the leg length seems pretty short compared to the arms, but I can't really make a judgment call on that because that's even less human, even more along the lines of, again, chimpanzee-ish looking. So, and the arms look pretty organic to me, the way they're moving. And the way this being is moving very fluidly and very quickly. It'd be nice to have a look through that set of bush and see how dense it was, because another thing that I'm seeing too is as it's going through the dense bush, he's not putting his hands in front of his face. He's moving very fluidly. So I have to say, I'm impressed with this video. I like this movement. If anything, it seems more chimpanzee than Sasquatch, but that makes it less human. And the fluidity of the movement, the actions that would be transpiring in this situation, all really, really add up. So if it is a hoax, it's somebody who did more along the lines of copying chimpanzee behavior than Sasquatch behavior. But if they did hoax it again, they got it right, luckily, because if I was to compare movements and behaviors, Sasquatch are more gorilla-like in their movement and in their behaviors, anatomically, especially in the upper body. So I see this as very primate behavior. So a good piece of footage, blurry, significantly blurry, but I can't really see any holes in it. It'd be nice to hear a little bit more about the backstory, that's for sure, and what's transpired. And then, of course, what is immensely important is the eyewitnesses' plausibility and believability, and even how many eyewitnesses were there. So I got real excited about this video years and years ago because, in fact, I really started to notice this video, and I thought it perhaps had something to do with some trappers in Nordegg, because I thought I recognized the area of one of these videos. This is another piece of Sasquatch footage that is in the wintertime and was probably filmed when the other Sasquatch footage was. This is Sonny Vega. And if you hadn't noticed, Sonny Vega is a fraud. He's hoaxing. I don't know what you want to call it. This is fake. This is not a real piece of Sasquatch footage. This is out in the wintertime. And he's done, well, and I'm saying this is fake based on two pieces of evidence. The fact that he's done other bad fake videos. And what I wanted to talk about was proportions. So let me play this video that shows the proportions. So a lot of time people are saying, humorously, it's very, very humorous to me, that Sasquatch are morphing my head, or even now it's my mouth. Apparently my mouth looks like Jake's mouth. So many things that are absolutely, it's literally laughable. I'm just going to start laughing about it because it's so freaking funny. But let me show you why it's so funny to me, because when you get into the actual proportionate sizes, my head is like, less than 6 inches across. And let's do the proportional comparison here based on Rocky Mountain Douglas fir pine needle leaves.
This is a Rocky Mountain Douglas fir. They're everywhere. They're in the Sasquatch video. And as you can see, this Douglas fir, this little itty bitty Douglas fir, the pine needles, here's my little tape measure, that's 1 inch, are not even 1 inch long, less than 3/4 inch. This is about a 4 foot tall conifer. This one being 8 feet, ironically enough, you'll have to, there again is 1 inch, and there's the needle, less than 1 inch. So these tiny trees, again, Rocky Mountain Douglas fir needles, are less than 1 inch. This over 100 foot tall Rocky Mountain Douglas fir, give me a moment to go grab a pine needle. pine needle leaf from over 100 foot tall Rocky Mountain Douglas fir. And as you can see, the 100-foot tree, just like the 8-foot tall tree, just like the 4-foot tree, all the pine needles, dead or alive, are less than 1 inch. Now, when we measure the proportions of this less than 1 inch pine needle of a Rocky Mountain Douglas fir, which is filmed right beside that Sasquatch, you are going to understand vividly, clearly why I found this morphing of my head into this giant, enormous Sasquatch absolutely laughable. So let's go through that right now. Here we are at the diagram of the morphing head that my head was morphed into. Something good that can come out of this is I do have to say that I've been pushed into doing an analysis of this head, and here we are with that analysis. So you can see in the top area by a pine needle, I have a little blue marker, and that blue marker is that pine needle is approximately 3/4 of an inch, Rocky Mountain pine needle, as I've discussed. And you'll see up there's a little blue thing that's going to be approximately 1 inch. And then when you move down to the Sasquatch head, so I took that 1 inch and kept it at the same angle, and you can see that there with the red. So the red is just that angle brought down to the Sasquatch head. Then the yellow, which is straightened out, is just, I took that precise size and I just straightened it out so we could use it as a measurement. And then the green, what you'll notice is I've decreased the size by 10% because the pine needle is significantly in front of the Sasquatch's head that you see there. So the gentleman who actually had that lens, there's a big long story behind the whole lens of it that I smashed and took me a year to pay for, but that knew the exact parameters of that lens, analyzed this footage and told me that approximately 10 to 15 that Sasquatch, if you took that Rocky Mountain Douglas fir needle and pushed it back to where the Sasquatch head is, you should decrease the size by, he said, 10 to 15%. So to err on the side of conservative, I've decreased it by just 10%, and that's what the little green marker is. And then you can see the green markers that go all the way across. You'll notice that there are 14 of them. 14 1-inch green markers. That Sasquatch was enormous, in case you were wondering. He was absolutely gigantic. You'll see there that his nose alone is 3 inches wide, which is just totally amazing. The separation between his eyes is approximately 8 inches, and as you can see in this photograph of me, I've measured the width of my head, just using me as an example because I don't want to give any credence to the what do I even call him? The idiot that morphed my head into a Sasquatch.
And the pine needle leaves are my little thing that I have now. If you film in the Pacific Northwest, the Rocky Mountain Douglas firs are the most dominant species, unless you're doing large pole pines. And when there's large pole pines around or cedar, either way I'm going to get a relative size comparison. So here's another video from Sonny Vega. This is a close-up facial. Very, very fake. That's a known Sasquatch mask. Sometimes Sonny Vega puts a mask on his suit, and sometimes he puts this face on his suit. He's got multiple fake videos that are circulating. But my point with this is, as you can see in this particular section, the human facial head proportions are in the center, and then he dresses up all the exterior with tons and tons of fluff. So when you see this fake video, it actually looks decently large because there's so much fluff. Like he's literally putting 4 inches of fluff per side on this Sasquatch's head. So what I'm seeing in the fake video, this one in the winter, is a human-sized head in the middle, and then tons and tons of fluff along the outsides to increase it by at least 8 inches, making this proportionately making sense to be 4 inches of fluff, 4 inches of fluff, and then 5 inches in the middle, which came to about 16 inches across, which was Sasquatch proportions, but not Sasquatch proportions. Of course, Sasquatch can have somewhat human proportions at a particular age, but it's going to be rare. Even the females are significantly larger. So it's a really good piece of evidence to see the head of a Sasquatch and then to be able to rule out at least a human with their face painted black, because the proportions are too big, the eyes are too wide, the nose is too big. That's what you're seeing in my Jake footage when people are putting my mouth in there. Well, Jake's mouth is longer than my whole head. His nose is about that big across my head. Never mind, his mouth comes out further than that. So never mind the fact that I have blue eyes and total human proportions. I mean, it's really it's just laughable that that Thinker Thunker was able to morph that in. And remember too, when you're morphing a head into another head, this is Stephanie McMahon sitting on the lap of Andre the Giant. And it's so laughable to me when people morph my head into a Sasquatch that I would actually say, well, watch my video of Andre the Giant and Stephanie McMahon, because it's obvious to me there really was no Andre the Giant. And what do you mean? Well, here's Stephanie McMahon's head fits exactly into Andre the Giant. Stephanie McMahon, when she was under 100 pounds, fit into the head of a 500-pound Andre the Giant. She was in a costume the whole time. I know that sounds ridiculous to say that, but it's that ridiculous to put a man, me weighing in between, 220, 230 pounds, and my head being 5 inches across, into the head of a Sasquatch whose head is over 14 inches across and weighs in excess of 800 pounds. I mean, it's really, really preposterous. And we really got to get rid of that preposterous, completely ignorant theory. But anyways, that's my Sasquatch Sunday stuff. I hope you enjoyed it. There'll be lots more to come. There'll be an excellent Throwback Thursday. Thanks very much for tuning in. Bye for now.